Welcome to the castle, everybody. This is Nightsaber Z42. Come on in and take a seat, because this is a Table for One, a pseudo-podcast where I play through different tabletop role-playing games by myself. And in the first series, we're going to be playing through Dragonbane solo. Now, we're going to be playing through Alone in Deepfall Breach as sort of like a prequel to the overall setup that I have for the actual game for Dragonbane. And we'll do the Misty Vale adventure after we get through Alone in Deepfall Breach. I do have a character that I've already made, and if you would like to check that whole process out, feel free to go ahead and check out Character Vault, where I go through the entire process of creating a character from start to finish. This one was for Dragonbane, and we're going to be playing as Rorik. He is a human male who is a fighter. Now, real quick before I actually start playing Alone in Deepfall Breach, I do want to mention that since we are playing this as a solo game, we do have two heroic abilities that we can take, and we actually get an extra heroic ability at start because we are playing this solo. The heroic ability that I decided to take was Army of One, which doesn't have any requirements, it doesn't cost any willpower points, but it states when fighting alone, we get to draw 2 initiative cards and keep both. You have 2 turns each round, and I think overall in this game, that's going to be very huge for us, for the economy of just being able to avoid as many hits as possible while also dealing as much damage as possible. And so that's kind of what we're going for. Especially as a fighter, it makes a lot of sense. So why don't we go ahead and set the scene and the tone for the game?
A man stumbles along the old road. It is raining, a torrential downpour that soaks him to the bone and threatens to trap him in the mud. The boom of thunder is close, and the illumination from the lightning is the only source of light to temporarily guide his way. Something catches his foot. He trips. Hands rush forward to catch himself, but only just barely. He looks up just as lightning flashes, and he catches the outline of something at the end of the road. A building? Out here? Rorik rights himself and continues towards the building with a newfound haste. Anywhere is better than being stuck out here in this rain. It is only as he closes in on his destination that he sees the faint red glow from behind. It appears to be a church. The mortared stone of the church hath stood fast against time, wind, and calamity, but its stained glass windows lie scattered in shards, and the heavy oaken doors hang loose and creaking on ancient hinges. Rorik slips inside. "Hello?" he calls out as he takes a look around. The chapel casts a shadow of itself, rotting pews, piles of refuse, tattered tapestries depicting battles long forgotten. Candles lend their meager glow in flickering clusters while fragrant smoke curls from incense burners. Maze-like etchings litter a large desk occupying the far wall.
Maddening, aren't they?
The gruff, weathered voice precedes a hunched form dislodging itself from the shadows. Silver streaks the coal-black fur of a wolfkin draped in ratty robes. He leans on a wicked-looking 2-handed mace topped with a clenched steel fist. Numerous scars mark the wolfkin's lupine visage, with a stone sphere replacing his left eye.
The breach.
He continues, nodding toward the desk littered with labyrinthine maps.
Impossible to map with any accuracy.
He introduces himself as Stone-Gaze, though he also supplies his true name, Ingolfr. The name is not unknown to you, but the Ingolfr of whom you've heard tell is a fearsome warrior and famed hunter of demons, not an old hermit priest.
Have you come to delve the breach?
He asks.
There's good to be done, justice to be dealt, and riches to be uncovered, if you've the metal for it.
The wolfkin grins with rows of yellow-stained teeth.
So we've met Ingolfr Stone-Gaze, who is the wolfkin of this church, and he's basically going to be the one who's giving us these missions that we're going to go out on our quest. We're exploring Deepfall Breach, although we really don't know where it is, and this is kind of a change that I'm going to make. Deepfall Breach is actually set in the Misty Vale, but for the purposes of my game, I am actually going to set it not in the Misty Vale, for reasons that we'll get into much later. But for now, just think of it that it's our hub town or our hub area where it always seems to be night and raining for some reason. And Ingolfr Stone-Gaze is going to be telling us of these different locations down in Deepfall Breach that we can explore. There are threats that we're going to encounter along the way for sure, and each of the different missions will have their own threats described that we can kind of make out what they are for our purposes of our game. I will not be creating any custom missions for this game just because I want to keep things moving along, but we are going to be doing the key missions that are stated here, and there's about 5 of them listed here. And so without further ado, let's get into the first mission, the Captive Orc.
The leader of a sect of demon cultists holds the World-Breaker Shard, the tip of the abyssal spear that split this land and created the breach. This power cannot stay in their grasp. Foul magics cloud their location from my sight, so ye must locate the shard through other means. Seek below a band of cultists transporting a prisoner, an orc named Gorum. Gorum knows the location of the cultists' outpost and may serve as a valuable ally in the days to come. A trio of goblin scouts plunder the breach, looting ancient crypts and robbing any who wander across their path.
So the thing about threats is that they are always present. There's that looming danger that's ever present in the background. These can be environmental hazards or a pursuing foe or a time limit. Our first one is going to be some goblin scouts that are out looking around the area for anything to scavenge. And if they should come across Rorik, they're definitely going to ambush him and get the drop on him. There's more goblins than there is of Rorik. So in order to track a threat, we're going to use a d6 as a counter, and we're going to start it at 1. If you suffer a significant delay or create an opening for the threat through inaction or failure, we're going to rotate the die to advance the threat by 1. In dire situations, such as rolling a demon on a time-sensitive task, advance the threat by 2. Since the dangers of the breach do not wait, you should also advance the threat if you divert from your mission for activities such as searching an area or resting, taking a stretch or more. When the threat advances to 6, the event comes to pass. You must face this danger or complication head on. If the threat is inherent to the mission or the nature of the region you are exploring, it should reset to 1. If not, remove it from play. And of course, there's a table of threats here ranging from 1 to 6, but the threat here is pretty self-evident. There are goblins. If they spot Rorik, they're going to attack.
A sloping corridor carries you into the oppressive depths of the breach. Tread softly, lest ye wake the creatures of fang and wing, nesting within the cracks and hollows of this ancient passage.
And so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to try to set the scene a little bit. We're going to ask a yes or no question. Is the passage dark? Is there any light source? Well, I guess the question should be if there are any light sources in the passageway. So we're going to roll a d6, and on a 1 through 3, it's going to be no. On a 4 through 6, it'll be yes. It is a 1, and that is unfortunate. So there are no light sources in this passageway, which means that we're going to have to take out a torch and light it in order to illuminate the area. That means Rorik's only going to have access to his sword and a torch, not his shield. So we're already giving up a little bit of some of our defense in that aspect. So he's going down this path, this dark path, with his torch in one hand, his non-dominant hand, and his sword is probably going to be in the other hand. Probably outdrawn and ready, just in case, because you never know what's going to be around the next corner. He's going to be very cautious here. Now, the description of this plunging path does state that there are creatures of fang and wing nesting within the cracks and hollows of the ancient passage. So that means that there's going to be something here. can we possibly sneak past them? Can we actually go ahead and tiptoe very quietly down there without waking anything up? So we are wearing chainmail, which means we get a bane on sneaking, which is very unfortunate. So that means we're going to roll 2d20 and we're going to take the lesser result. So our sneaking here is at a 5, and remember that's with a bane, so this isn't already looking too good. We're kind of clicking and clattering here with our chainmail. So let's see what we get. Alright, since we have a bane, we have to take the result that is higher, and that's really unfortunate because one of our rolls was a 4, which means we would have succeeded if we didn't have that bane. But because we have that bane, we have to use the 12. So we did not succeed here. So something gets alerted out there in the dark. Something with fang and wings. So I'm thinking of some sort of a bat. And let's see, do we have bats in the rule book? So I'm taking a look at the bestiary in the back of the rule book. Oh, look at that. We have griffins, we have harpies. Maybe not. Doesn't really. Oh, there we go. We have a vampiric bat. Ooh, that is very interesting. Now, let's see. We have other animals, but it doesn't look like bats are on the common animals. So we are going to use the vampiric bats. So these vampiric bats just suddenly start to swarm around Rorik, and they're doing their little screechy thing that bats do as they try to attack him. Now, we do have a torch, and I'm actually got a torch equipped in my non-dominant hand, and we actually have an improvised weapon that is a torch. And here's what it says. Requires 1 free hand. The attack hits automatically, which is very strange to me, and inflicts 2d6 fire damage plus damage bonus. And we do have a damage bonus of 1d4. The attack can be dodged or parried, which I don't believe monsters can do. You may then keep the torch, which is ours to begin with, so we are most definitely going to keep that. And since we are running combat, we are going to go ahead and draw for initiative. Now, initiative in these Free League games are card-based, so we have a deck of cards from 1 through 10. Ones obviously goes first, and 10s will go last. These bats have a ferocity of 2, which means that they get to act twice in a round. Then again, so do we, because we have our awesome heroic ability, Army of 1. So I'm going to draw 2 initiative cards first, and then I'm going to draw 2 for the vampiric bats. So our first initiative is a 1. Looks like we get to go first. Our next one is 2, so we get to go first and second. For the vampiric bats, we have 8, and we have a 9. I did not shuffle these very well at all. Alright, I'm gonna have to do a better job of that next time. But either way, we are going first 2 times. And because we have a torch in our non-dominant hand, I think it only makes sense that we're going to attack with said torch, which means we're going to deal 2d6 damage plus a d4 as our little damage bonus. So I've got my 2d6 plus my d4. Let's go ahead and roll and see what damage we're doing to these bats. These bats have HP of 18, and that's for the whole entire swarm. If we were to use our sword, then we would be doing half damage. So all damage from physical weapons, even magical ones, are reduced by half, round up. Fire has normal effects. So that looks like 12 damage right there off the bat. Pun intended, I guess. So that means the bats are swarming around Rorik, and he just takes his torch and just swipes at them. He manages to get a couple of them in the frenzy there and manages to deal some good damage. But since we do get a second act or a second turn here, and we do get to go second, we are going to take our torch and go again. So we've dealt 12 damage first. We only need to do 6 more damage, which I'm pretty sure we could do. And we did. That is a total of 12 damage. Again, this swarm of bats are just taken out by the fire torch, or the torch with the fire, and he just smacks them around, and they probably just get scared and just start to fly away back through the cave from whence they came, or just from the exit. I would probably want to leave the cave at this point if I was a bat. So they left the cave, and Rorik gets to move forward instead. That's actually pretty nice first combat. We didn't even take any damage or anything like that. So I'm actually really happy about that one. So our next area is the Charred Tomb.
Fire long ago ravaged this once grand mausoleum. It holds 5 remaining sarcophagi amid piles of ash. Find ye a path through a door hidden within one of these coffins, but disturb not the scorched dead, nor the hidden trap.
So already off the bat, they're telling us that there's a trap somewhere inside of this room. Although Rorik really wouldn't know that, but he is going to be a little bit of a cautious person. Because, you know, sarcophagi, stories of the dead. I mean, you just got to be checking your corners, man. Check the corners, as they say in the Expanse series. So I think Rorik is going to be walking around this old dusty tomb. He probably coughs a couple times because there's dust, but there's also that lingering smell of fire. Like if you've ever been in a fire, it tends to linger. And so I think even after this day and age, after it's passed for so long, there's still that lingering scent of fire, especially with some undead here hidden somewhere. And so he's going to, he's got to look. We're going to expect the sarcophagi because it seems like a dead end. And there can't be dead ends in a tomb. There's got to be something else here. That's what Ingolfr said. There's got to be something else here. And so I think we're going to start looking around. I think that's going to be spot hidden. And so I think we're going to go around to each different sarcophagi and we're going to ask the Oracle a question. Is this the sarcophagi that is trapped? And so sarcophagi number 1, is this the sarcophagi that is trapped? No. And so he's going to inspect one of the corner sarcophagi. He's going to go around in corner, probably in like counterclockwise order until he finds something. And so we're going to go ahead and roll for our spot hidden. I guess we should also ask another Oracle question. And we're going to actually use our result from our spot hidden to determine whether or not there is something actually hidden here. And so let's go ahead and roll. We need a 10 or under to succeed, and we got an 18, so that is going to be a no. There is nothing here that he can see. So we're going to move on to the next sarcophagi, going in counterclockwise order. Is this sarcophagi trapped? No. Let's go ahead and roll our spot hidden to see if there's anything to see. Yes, there is something hidden here. I guess the next question is going to be, do we disturb something? Obviously, there are skeletons here. But did we disturb something when we open up the sarcophagi? Oh boy. Yes. But it's not an extreme yes. So I think that in this instance, the skeleton warrior that was here in this specific sarcophagi is going to rise up. He's going to hear the clattering of bones as they shift together. The fingers curl around a weapon, possibly. As this skeleton begins to rise out of the sarcophagi, hands come out of the stone crypt as a head peeks over and legs come over the side. Rorik grabs his... Ooh, that's actually a really good question. What is Rorik going to do? I think he's going to drop his torch here because he wants to grab his shield. He knows a warrior when he sees one, so he's going to take his sword, which he already still has, but he's also going to get his shield ready to go. And so we're dealing with a skeleton warrior here. Nothing really too fancy. Short sword that's going to deal some damage, quite a bit of damage, considering how few HP that we actually have in this game. So gonna be putting that shield to good use, I think. Well, we'll see, because we have to draw initiative. And I've already gone ahead and shuffled these initiative cards good and proper this time. And so Rorik is going to draw 2, 6, and 2. So we could potentially go first. The skeleton doesn't have ferocity, so he's only going to draw 1, which is a 9. All right, so Rorik does get to go first twice, yet again. Good for us. So let us go ahead and roll and see if we can try to attack this skeleton before it can really do anything to us. Alright, so for combat, the first thing that we have to do, just like with just about any other game system, is we have to determine if we actually hit the skeleton first. So we're going to take a d20 and we're going to roll. Now we have a sword skill of 12. So that means we need to roll a 12 or under in order to actually hit the skeleton. So that is... Wait, what? Oh, okay. Dragons are good, demons are bad. So I'm going to assume that the flying looking thing is a dragon, and the skull looking thing is a demon? Is that supposed to be? Oh, okay, I see, yeah. So the dragon has a 1, the body is the 1, and the wings are not. And the other one has a 20 that looks like horns. That's actually kind of really weird. I never really looked at these dice very closely. And so we actually did get a dragon, which is good. Demons are bad, dragons are good in this game. So, okay, sure. Now, when you actually roll a dragon, there are some options that you can choose. This is considered a critical hit. And so, this means that a dragon roll is required to parry or dodge the attack, and that you may choose one of the following effects. We can roll double the amount of dice for the weapon's damage, which sounds actually really good right now, before adding any damage bonuses and other bonuses. So 46 plus the extra d4 that we get. I think that's what that means. Yeah. We can immediately perform a second attack against another enemy. This additional attack is a free action, although this doesn't really apply in this situation because we're only dealing with one skeleton. Or the armor has no effect against the attack as it finds a gap or weak spot. This effect can only be chosen if the attack deals piercing damage. I don't think we're going to do that anyways. I think we're just going to go ahead and take the double damage. So 46 plus a d4's worth of damage, which is actually really nice. Find all my dice here, and we're going to go ahead and roll a bunch of dice. Oof, look at that. All right, 8, 10, 15 damage compared to the Skeleton Warrior's 8 maximum HP. This thing is just done. Rorik takes his broadsword and just winds up the attack as the skeleton is coming over the side of the tomb he's resting in. And then as soon as that skeleton stands up and gets his armor ready and looks at Rorik, it's like, ow. And then Rorik just goes to town with his broadsword, and there's just dust and bones flying everywhere, and it's just a big mess until there's just like a pile of leather armor. What is he wearing? He's wearing studded leather armor, just drops on the floor. Now, we did do 15 damage, but the warrior does have studded leather armor, which negates 2 of that damage, but still we decimate this thing. This thing just crumples down. So combat is over yet again, and Rorik, I think, has taken enough time here to where we're gonna advance the threat level to 2. Needless to say, I think after combat, he's going to pick up his torch. He's going to stow his shield away and pick up his torch because that thing is valuable. He did find something hidden in this tomb, and it seems to be a little side passage that he can squeeze through. Like, this is a pretty big crypt for such a little skeleton, and there's like a set of stairs that lead down. He's going to head down further into the tomb or the area. And so what is next? Unknown. So we actually get to figure out what is coming. Now it says here that if a waypoint is unknown, we can generate a location randomly through a procedure. It's like a 3-step procedure. So the first thing we're going to do is roll a d20 on the area table to learn the type of zone, chamber, or passage we are entering or traversing. And that is a 17. So let's see, the area table, 17 is a subterranean river. Uh-oh. That's not good for dudes who are heavy in armor. So we have a subterranean river. Second thing, we're going to roll a d4, then roll a d4 that many times on the location tables and choose which subtables will flesh out the area. So let's go ahead and roll the d4. We have a 2, so that means we're going to roll the d4 2 times on the location details table to see which table we're rolling on. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So our first d4 roll is going to be a 4. So we're going to roll on the danger table. Uh-oh. And then we're going to roll on the oddity table. So take a d20 for the danger table, which is another 17. Wow, we have two 17s on the D20s right there. So the danger table says we have scalding steam. Uh-oh. Is this hot water? Ooh, maybe, maybe not. We'll have to find out here in just a little bit. Okay, for the oddity table, we have a 19, which is unnatural darkness. I'd say, especially if this is a river of some type, a subterranean river.
A river surrounded in darkness. Fear not the depths and the cold, for it is better than the heat from above.
So it is dark in this river. He's going to try his very best to keep that torch above water. First thing we need to do is ask is the river itself, is it deep? Yes, it is a deep river. So he's going to try to stay afloat, which means we are going to be rolling a swim test here. Swimming is agility, and it doesn't really specify if our chainmail is going to somehow impede that. Okay, so all characters are decent swimmers. Yay, we can swim. In water, your movement rate is half your movement rate on land. No ranged attacks can be performed in water, and melee attacks are performed with Bane. More difficult underwater maneuvers, like diving for something, require a swimming roll. You get a Bane if you are wearing chainmail or plate armor. Uh-oh, so that's not good. So we are most definitely going to make a swimming roll here, just to kind of stay afloat as we maneuver down this subterranean river. There isn't really anything else other than that. I mean, the danger was the river itself and scalding steam. Ooh. So where does the scalding steam come into play? Maybe further down the river there's like these pockets of, I don't know, heat that just erupt from the walls. And so he's going to have to try to go underwater in order to circumvent that. So yeah, we could use that. Let's make our swimming roll first and see what happens. We'll let that dictate. So we are rolling with a Bane. Unfortunately, my swimming is 10, so we need a 10 or under on both. That is a 1 and a 6. Wow, look at that. We're actually getting some decent rolls this time around. So we do manage to maneuver out of the way of this pockets of steam as they just come blowing through, and he's able to keep his head above water, and more importantly, he's able to keep that torch above water. So we do have light from this darkness that is all around down on this underground cave or underground river, the subterranean river. All right, so on to the next encounter, which is another unknown area. And so once again, we're going to roll a d4 to see how many times we're going to roll on the location table. Actually, first we need to roll the d20 for the area. We have a 20, which is a yawning chasm. I'm just going to assume that it's just a big chasm, like a big drop. Okay, so let us see. We got to roll the d4. One time, thank you, and it's going to be a 2, so an environment. Kind of already have an environment though. It's a yawning chasm. So we're gonna roll our d20 once for the environment. 17, which is skittering sounds. Oh, I do not like the sound of that. Skittering sounds. Eep, 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 eep. Okay, the first thing that I want to ask is there a bridge for the chasm? Yes, extreme yes. So that means this is gonna be the sturdiest of sturdy bridges. It's made of stone. Not that cheap wooden with the rope like you see in Indiana Jones, okay? This is an actual bridge made for walking on. So, there's something else here. There's skittering sounds. And you know, skittering sounds kind of make it seem like there's rats. Are there rats here? Are there rats? Yes, there are some rats. Are they evil rats that want to eat us? Ooh, should I ask that question? No, extreme no. In fact, they see us approaching with our torch and our broadsword and, you know, our muscles and our chainmail, and they're like, nope, and they just run away. So there we go. That one, that extreme no. Oh yeah, I'm feeling that.
This bridge, despite its years of service, is still intact and whole. There's no need to be idle here, for the rats that make their home between the cracks of the stone are cowardly, but they do make a fine meal if you should catch one or two.
So we managed to walk across the chasm, and let's see what the next area is. The Fiendish Altar.
The cultists take refuge here with their prisoner. My sight cannot glean their aims, but the blood-stained altar at the center of this chamber has seen countless deaths at the hands of those seeking parley with demonic forces. But I sense fear, hesitation in these cultists. They'll not die needlessly for their cause, I suspect. Free Gorham from their clutches.
There's definitely going to be some altar. There's going to be a person on this altar, a prisoner. That's probably going to be Gorham right there, not to be confused with Golem. But there is a person here who needs to be freed, and there are cultists. And can I please ask, how many cultists are there? I think that's going to be a d6 roll for us. So let's go ahead and roll a d6. There are 4 cultists here in this room. It's pretty obvious that they're going to be surrounding this altar. I guess the thing that really comes to mind, Rorik knows that he's outnumbered here. That fighting 4 cultists, even if they are minimally armed, would be very foolish. He's just one guy. He might have chainmail and a shield and a broadsword, but fighting 4 people, especially in real life, is no bueno. And so I think what he's going to do, let's take a look. I think he wants to go ahead and try to intimidate. Is intimidate a skill in here? Now, intimidation is not a skill per se in this game, but you know what it is? Persuasion. And that kind of would encompass making threats and things along those lines. And so I think what he's going to do is he's going to make a display. He's going to set his sword down on the ground so it makes a loud clanking sound. Clank. And he's going to drop his torch. And as the cultists kind of turn, he's going to reach back and pull out his shield. And he's going to kind of like do a show of force here. He's going to, let his muscles show. I have no muscles. Sorry. And he's going to say, all right, one of you will die first if you do not release that man there. My question to you is, who is it going to be? And we're going to go ahead and roll. Now, cultists are typical NPCs, but they don't really have any skills or stats listed here, or rather, they don't have will. So we're not going to make an opposed roll. Instead, we're just going to make a persuasion roll, which is, oh boy, not our strong suit at all. We have to roll 5 or under. And we managed to roll a demon. No. Oh boy. So let's see, our threat's only going to go up by 1 because I don't think this would really count as a time-sensitive matter. So I am just going to go ahead and let that threat go up by 1. But at the same time, I think we've pissed off these cultists. And there's 4 of them. And so they're just going to grin because they know that they outnumber Rorik. And so I think they're going to go ahead and rush him. Now, because we've rolled a demon, I think it's only fair that they get to draw initiative first. And then Rorik is going to draw his 2. I think we're going to have to treat these cultists as individuals. I know everybody's an individual. But I think we're going to be dealing with 4 cultists with 12 HP each. But I am going to be using the NPC attack table for a lot of the damage here. It looks like the NPCs are going to be dealing 2d6 damage, which is quite a lot. Better get good and not take any damage. So the cultists are each going to draw 1 initiative card first before Rorik gets to draw his 2. So first one is going to be a 9, which is good. We want them to get the higher numbers. 7, 10. Oh yeah, look at this. 4, okay. All right, Rorik's 2. He gets a 5, so he's going after one of them. And an 8. Ooh, that is quite bad. He's dropped his torch, so the room and the altar is illuminated, but he does have his shield because, well, he was prepping for this one. So here we go. The first cultist is most definitely going to come at him, bro, and try to hit him, I suppose. And they are going to have knives. Cultists have knives, and so they are going to try, or they have daggers rather. Daggers are different than knives, and he's going to try to stab him. And they have a skill of 12 in knives, and so that is a 2. Oops, oh boy. Alrighty, so 2d6 worth of damage, and I guess, when do we declare if we're blocking? Okay, so when you are hit by an attack in close combat, you can choose to parry the attack with a drawn weapon or shield. You must declare that you are going to parry before the attacker rolls for damage. You cannot parry unarmed, so you can't use those biceps to parry. It is impossible to both parry and dodge at the same time, not that we would dodge, but parrying is a reaction as it breaks the initiative order. It replaces your regular action and you must immediately flip your initiative card. The thing about that is we can use one of our cards to parry and still get a main action. So we can do that because we've drawn 2. The question is, do we really want to do that? I mean, 2d6 is quite a bit of damage for Rorik, who only has 12 hit points. So this could literally knock him out right now. But we do have an armor rating of 4, so that's gonna get rid of 4 damage right there, no matter what. We aren't wearing a helmet, which really surprises me. I think what we're going to do is we're going to take this damage because I want to get rid of as many of these cultists as possible. We're gonna go ahead and take this damage. So 2d6, they say. Let's go ahead. 2d6. Oof, that's a 7. Minus 4, that's 3. So we only take 3 damage. Yeah, boy. This is literally come at me territory. So that's 3 damage on Rorik right off the bat, but you know what? He's gonna shrug it off because he's a big boy and his mama raised him right. So he's gonna take his broadsword and he is going to go ahead and try to... Yeah, I just realized the broadsword actually does piercing damage too. Anyways, he's going to attack with his sword. So 12 or under. That's an 11. He hits. So that's 2d6 plus 1d4 worth of damage. Let's go ahead and one-shot this foo. And this is going to be the one that just attacked him too because he's in there right there next to him in close combat. So let's go ahead and roll. All right, 10, 14. That is going to be a one-shot. This guy is probably without a head right now. Shlink. So that's 1 down. 2 more to go. I really want to roll for this one. Are they in any way intimidated by Rorik's display of just one-shotting this guy and like taking his head off? And I think that the only possibility of us getting a success is if it's a 6, an extreme yes. So I am actually going to go ahead and roll for this and see if we do get that 6. And we did not. We actually got a 1. So definitely not. They're probably enraged by the fact that their buddy just got beheaded. And so one of them is going to, let's see, roll a d6. What kind of attackers are these? Well, they're definitely not magic attackers or ranged attackers. So they're probably going to be melee attackers. So let's go ahead and see. We got a 5, so that's going to be a wild attack. The NPC attacks with a boon. A successful attack inflicts an extra d6 and you are knocked down. If you attack them before their next turn, you also attack with a boon. Ooh, I do kind of like that, so I really hope that they miss. So with a boon, that is, ooh, 2 2s, okay. So yes, this one does manage to hit Rorik as well. So that is going to be 3d6 worth of damage. That's bad. This is probably going to be one where we're going to actually use our shield to parry. Parrying with the shield is a little bit different. So if you have a shield drawn, you can parry with it instead of your weapon. There is no skill for shields. Instead, you can use any strength-based melee skill, an example, any of them except knives and staves, to parry with a shield. So it's really weird that for the rules of parrying, because it doesn't really specify what it does. It just says that you can do it. So does it reduce damage or does it actually just take away damage? And I'm going to go ahead and go with the latter because it kind of makes sense that you're blocking with a shield that it just doesn't do damage. So I do need to make a parry check here. And so we get to use any of the skills because shield for some odd reason isn't actually a skill. So I am going to go ahead and use swords because we're already using a sword with a shield, so it only makes sense, and swords is actually one of our higher skills. So we need to roll 12 or under, and we got an 11, so we do manage to parry, so boom. And now, I guess what I should have stated before was that I was going to use defensive, which costs 3 willpower points, and what this does, it's a heroic feat or heroic talent that Rorik has, that states that you may attempt to parry an attack without consuming your action for the round. So he still will get another action here. It does take quite a bit of willpower points to use, so there is that caveat. And this is the last encounter, so we might as well use it while we got it. So one of the cultists has wildly come in and just tried to attack, but Rorik managed to block it with his shield because he's all defensive and all of that. And that leaves this punk wide open. So we actually do get a boon to attack this foo. That almost rhymed. I'm sorry it didn't. So we're going to go ahead and attack them with 2d20s. And unfortunately, that is not gonna hit. That's a 13 and a 15 right there, so no go. That's really unfortunate. And now we have two other cultists who are going to get in on this action. And so the first one is going to, number 5, make another wild attack. So he is going to roll with a boon as well. Oh. And that's unfortunate for him because he rolled an 18 and a 15, which means he doesn't hit. The other one is going to just make a simple blow. So deal a blow. The NPC makes a melee attack, so 1d20 here. And that, unfortunately, is going to be a hit. So do we want to try to block this? Well, we really can't because we've used both of our actions this turn. And don't believe we can evade either. So 2d20 or 2d6 it is. That is 5 minus 4 is 1 hit. So we've taken 4 hits already. Uh-oh. Might as well end this very, very quickly. So the initiative cards go back in the stack and we get to draw. How many did I draw? I draw 2 for Rorik and then there's 3 more left. So 5. And Rorik is going to draw first for initiative. I always have my PCs draw for initiative first before I have the NPCs draw. That way, it's a little bit more in favor of the PCs because of how deadly this game is. So Rorik has a 2 and a 10. Cultist 1, 5. Cultist 2, 3. Cultist 3 is 4. So Rorik does get a chance to go. And one of these, we can actually, we still get a boon if we attack them before their next turn. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to go ahead and roll our 2d20 for the boon. And there we go. We got a 12 and a 3, so that is a hit. So that is 2d, or actually we're going to do 46 with an extra d4 for our damage. And this guy is going to be dead, I'm pretty sure. 8, 10, 15, yes sir. He is done and done. Boom! This guy has been cleft in twain, possibly, maybe. Does this guy, since we one-shotted him, do the others, are they getting a little bit intimidated? So I think 5 or 6 at this point. 4. That's unfortunate, that was so close. No, not quite yet. They're still going to try to attack. So what are they going to do? The first one is going to do just a simple melee blow. Simple, just 12 or under. That is a 16, so no. The other one is going to also do a simple blow, deal a blow, and that is going to be a hit. So 2d6. I think we're just going to want to tank this, although if he gets double 6s, we're done for. I think we're going to go ahead and spend another 3 willpower to use defensive. We're gonna go ahead and just hope for the best. We're gonna roll our d20. And that is a 17, so that is going to be a no. We do not succeed, so 2d6 damage it is, and that is a 6 minus 4 is only 2 damage. That's not a whole lot, but you know, when it starts to rack up, it does rack up. We're at 6 damage right now out of 12, so we really need to do something quickly, which means that Rorik gets to make one last attack. I don't think any of these guys get, well, none of them get a boon, or we don't get a boon to hit any of these because they didn't make a wild attack. So simple d20. That is a 2, so that is a hit. Let's see, we're gonna roll our 2d6 with our d4 worth of damage for 9 damage. That's unfortunate, but hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So one is super duper close. The other one, not so much. All right, so back to the drawing board. We're going to draw 4 initiative this time. 2 for Rorik, 2 for the cultists. And we're going to hope that Rorik gets to go first. Now, I could use my other heroic talent, which is Veteran. I can spend a willpower point to basically keep one of those cards, probably the 2. That way I don't have to draw another one again. But I'm kind of going balls to the wall here. So, Rorik's action is a 1. Yes, sir. And a 4. Pretty good. Cultist 1, 6. Cultist 2 is a 2. Okay. Rorik goes, then one of the cultists. So let's try to get rid of that cultist that's going to go first. So we're going to roll our d20. That's a 3. And I believe this one is going to be the one. Ooh, you know what? I probably should have been keeping a little bit more track on who has what damage. That's my fault. So we are going to say that good old number 2 over here is the one that met an unfortunate end. And I know I am definitely going heavy in on the in favor of the character, but hey, you know what? That's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. All right, another d20 for number 6. That is another 2. Man, if only I could expand my crit range to a 2, that would be pretty awesome. So another 2d6 with 4 damage, d4's worth of damage. That is 7, 8 damage to his 12. So he's got 4 HP left. That's not enough to kill him, but that's unfortunate because he gets to go now. So let's see, what's he gonna do? That's a 4. That's a defensive stance. If you have not acted this round, the NPC swaps initiative cards with you and parries or dodges with a boon. If you did not attack or have already attacked, they use their action to attack with a bane. Okay, I like that. So 2d20, take the lesser result. And they both missed anyway, so hey, pretty good on us. So another round down. We're so close. There's only one left, and he is badly hurt. In fact, I think now is the time where we're gonna roll a d6. Is he going to flee, or is he going to commit? 1 through 3 means he is going to commit. 4, 5, and 6 means he's gonna flee. He's committed. He's a committed bro. He knows what's gonna happen if he flees. Rorik, attack number 1 is a 6. Number 2 is a 2. Cultist is a 4, so we do get one last chance to hit him. Alrighty, let's do it. Let's make it happen, Captain. That is a 4. This guy is all but toast. There we go. 7, 8 damage. He is dead. We managed to spear him through the chest with our broadsword for some piercing damage, and we might as well swing him around before he just toss him to the side there. And that is that. We're going to go over to Gorham over there because I totally forgot about him in this battle. So I'm not going to go ahead and say that, hey, you should have helped me out. Now, he's tied up for sure. And so we're going to use something that's probably a little bit smaller than a broadsword to cut him free and release him. And together, we're going to leave this place, and we'll even do a little jump with the high five at the end because we're total 80s bro, and we made it back. And that is going to be it for this first ever episode of Table for One, a solo play podcast, pseudo podcast, I guess we'll call it, because this is going up on YouTube as a podcast. But you can still see the video, so definitely feel free to leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Leave a review. I don't know, that's what they say on podcasts, but for sure, give this podcast or review a thumbs up to help support this content. And I will see you in the next episode of Table for One, a solo pseudo podcast.